I also would look at how we could, through the federal government, support more teachers, because we're going to have a teacher shortage in some of the districts, including Detroit.
Let me just follow up with the Secretary, then I'll come back to you. Senator.
March 6th, 2016.
You've been endorsed, Secretary, one of the biggest teachers unions. There's an awful lot of great teachers in this country. It's an incredibly difficult job, one of the most difficult jobs there is. But union rules often make it impossible to fire bad teachers, and that means disadvantaged kids are sometimes taught by the least qualified. Do you think unions protect bad teachers?
You know what? I am proud to have been endorsed by the AFT and the NEA, and I've had a very good relationship with both unions, with their leadership, and we've had really candid conversations because we are going to have to take a look.
Hold on, yes, I have the key, yes.
To really involve families, to help kids who have more problems than just academic problems. A lot of what has happened, and honestly, it really pains me, a lot of people have been blaming and scapegoating teachers because they don't want to put the money into the school system that deserve the support that comes from the government doing its job.
So just to follow up, you don't believe unions protect bad teachers?
You know what? I have told my friends at the top of both unions, we got to take a look at this because it is one of the most common criticisms. We need to eliminate that criticism. You know, teachers do so much good. They are often working under the most difficult circumstances. So anything that could be changed, I want them to look at it. And I will be a good partner to make sure that whatever I can do as president, I will do to support the teachers.
What our campaign is about is asking people to think big, not small. And when we think big and we talk about education, we got to ask ourselves a simple question. How is it, starting at college, that hundreds of thousands of bright young people are today unable to go to college because they can't afford it? How is it that maybe your kid, and when I was growing up, we didn't have any money, were not even dreaming about going to college because they knew it was another world? So starting with the top. Now I know some people think it's a radical idea. I don't. I believe that every public college and university in this country should be tuition free. So that your child, regardless of the income of your family, knows that if she studies hard, she is going to be able to go to college. And you know what else we do? We invest in child care. Right now, you've got child care workers making McDonald's wages. That is crazy. I want well-trained, well-paid child care workers to give our youngest kids the best opportunities.
Don, I want to go over to my colleague, Don Lemon.
Anderson, thank you very much. Secretary Clinton, I want to turn now from the state of our nation's schools to the state of our nation's crumbling infrastructure, which you talked a little bit about at the beginning of this debate. But beyond the Detroit schools and Flint water crisis, pipes, roads, and bridges are in need of repair. It would take trillions of dollars to fix it all. Senator Sanders has proposed a $1 trillion plan, but yours is only a quarter of that. Is your plan big enough to fix the crumbling infrastructure in this country?
Well, there's no doubt we have an enormous backlog of infrastructure repairs. Here's what I do. The Congress finally got around to passing the Highway Transportation Bill, which should never have been partisan. It turned into being one partisan argument. I want to go further. I want to put $250 billion additional on top of what Congress has done. That gets us to $500 million. I want to start a national infrastructure bank. I want to capitalize it with $25 billion that I believe will leverage 10 times that. That's another $250 billion. So I'm trying to do this in a way that will gain support and be affordable, but there's no doubt we have to do more on our roads, our bridges, our tunnels, our ports, our airports, and as we talked about in the beginning here, under our ground, our water systems, our sewer systems, we have pipelines that are leaking and that are dangerous. We have so much work to be done, and we can put millions of people to work. I think my plan is a very good way to begin doing that work and to get people out there doing it.
Thank you, Secretary. Senator Sanders, critics of your $1 trillion proposal say it is yet another example of a costly plan that will never get through Congress and can't be paid for. The best infrastructure deal is what the Secretary just mentioned. The deal President Obama could negotiate with Republicans was a $305 billion highway bill. If he couldn't do more, how can you?
Well, let's begin by discussing the problem. As you've indicated, the American Society of Civil Engineers say we need trillions of dollars just to bring up our infrastructure to deal with water systems like Flint, just to bring them up to decent levels. We have suggested $1 trillion investment. Now, you know what we're going to pay for that? I'll tell you how we're going to pay for that. Right now, this country is losing $100 billion every single year because profitable corporations are stashing their profits in the Cayman Islands, Bermuda, and in other tax havens. And in some cases, not paying 5 cents in federal income tax. I will eliminate that outrageous loophole, and we will raise $1 trillion. And by the way, not only do we rebuild our crumbling infrastructure, $1 trillion over 5 years creates 13 million decent-paying jobs.
Thank you, Senator Sanders. The issue of climate change has been a major talking point for both of you. I want you to bring in Sarah Belair. She's a student at the University of Michigan at Dearborn, who says she's currently undecided. Ms. Belair has a question on fracking, which for viewers is a process of oil and gas drilling that's led to a significant increase in American energy production and jobs, but also raises serious environmental concerns. Sarah, I have questions for Secretary Clinton, but you'll both be able to weigh in. Sarah?
Fracking can lead to environmental pollution, including the contamination of water supply. Do you support fracking?
Secretary Clinton.
You know, I don't support it when any locality or any state is against it, number one. I don't support it when the release of methane or contamination of water is present. I don't support it, number three, unless we can require that anybody who fracks has to tell us exactly what chemicals they are using. So by the time we get through all of my conditions, I do not think there will be many places in America where fracking will continue to take place. And I think that's the best approach, because right now there are places where fracking is going on that are not sufficiently regulated. So first we've got to regulate everything that is currently underway, and we have to have a system in place that prevents further fracking unless conditions like the ones that I just mentioned are met.
Senator Sanders,
my answer is a lot shorter. No, I do not support fracking. And by the way, I'm glad you raised the issue of climate change, because media doesn't talk enough about what the scientists are telling us, and that is if we don't get our act together, the planet that we're going to leave our children may not be healthy and habitable. I have introduced the most comprehensive climate change legislation in the history of the Senate, which, among other things, calls for a tax on carbon, massive investments in energy efficiency, wind, solar, and other sustainable energy. Senator, this is a crisis we've got to deal with.
Senator Sanders, to Secretary Clinton's point, there are a number of Democratic governors in many states who say that fracking can be done safely and that it's helping their economies. Are they wrong?
Yes. You know, one of the differences, look, Secretary Clinton, and I've said this before, and I admit it, she has the support of all the governors, Democratic, all the senators, all the congressmen. I don't. I am not part of that. I plead guilty. To be a member of the Environmental Committee, I talk with the scientists all over the world. And what they are telling me, if we don't get our act together, this planet could be 5 to 10 degrees warmer by the end of this century. Cataclysmic problems for this planet. This is a national crisis. And I talk to scientists who tell me that fracking is doing terrible things to water systems all over this country. We've got to be bold now. We've got to transform our energy system to energy efficiency and sustainable energy. We've got to do it yesterday.
Secretary Clinton, before we come to you. Secretary Clinton's going to be able to respond, but Senator Sanders, you've been very tough lately, last week, you said this about Secretary